get rolling, looks like, and we'll.
Absolutely, so we'll let Sheldon introduce his new hire.
Yeah, what up? Morning, council. You all know who I am. This is Trina Soroka. She's protective services admin individual. She has lots of experience in the field. She did come from Lysander County, our focus is there. She knows a lot of the programs we currently use, so that's really good.
Hello, and nice to meet you.
Just go around the table here. I'm sure you know the administrative side, but we'll start here with Councillor Whitten.
Benny Whitten, Woodlands Division 7.
Patricia McNeil, Woodlands Division 2, Whitecourt West.
Jenna Wright, I represent Blue Ridge.
Dave Cush, representing Salmo, and I'm the Reef.
Peter Kilkin, I represent Division 6, Goose Lake, Freeman River.
Hi, I'm Alan Dean, I'm Division 3, Whitecourt Central. Just a question, so if we have a question about this, we talk to you? Or is that still a Trinus thing?
For what? Sorry.
If we have a question about our service or our email, so tech service does not relate to this?
No.
Okay.
And
Do we have a problem?
Virtually, Councillor St. Martin.
Oh, she's here.
Sorry about that. Karen St. Martin, Whitecourt East.
Well, good to see you on board. I'm not sure if Lac St. Anne's gonna wanna keep talking to us, the amount of staff keep coming over this way, but.
I've not been involved in any of the hires, I just wanna-
Perfect. Thank you for your time.
So with that, call the meeting to order here, it's 9:33. Start with additions or deletions to the agenda, and I did have the one addition for 12.3 staffing and employment update under the Access to Information Act number 20. Just checking, anything else from administration first? From council?
Just to also under, I guess it'd be 12.2 closed session for the CAO evaluation pursuant to section 197.2 of the MGA and 32.1A access to information.
So that'll be under 12.4 item?
Oh,
then?
12.4, sorry.
Karen's got her hand raised.
Councillor St. Martin?
Addition to 4.1, 20-25 minutes.
Martin? I just, you said 20-25 minutes?
Correct.
We have November 27th, 2025, December 4th, 2025, and December 18th, 2025. Just not following what you mean by minutes for 2025.
It pertains to all the minutes for 2025.
No, I'm just procedurally, I've never done that here with Woodlands. Is that something in our bylaws that we need to be doing, or I know we approve the minutes as they come through. Do we have to approve for the year?
Through the chair, not that I'm aware of. If it's a bigger discussion on minutes, perhaps it's just a new business item rather than within the adoption of our minute section. I don't know what the matters to regard, so I can't.
Councillor St. Martin?
Mr. Reed, this pertains to errors that go all the way back to the beginning of 2025 that impact minutes that are currently on the agenda.
Yeah, just as a discussion though, when we approve the minutes after amending them, wouldn't that motion conclude that that's already been moved? So isn't this essentially a duplication of the motions? Councillor McNeil?
Or is it a discussion about the minutes? It's not undoing what's already accepted, I guess, if it's a discussion?
Councillor St. Martin?
Mr. Reed, through to council. Yeah, there's some errors in the minutes that are on the agenda. And the errors go right back to March of 2025 that impact the current minutes.
Because the numbers.
Just refer to our CAO.
Yeah, if that's the case, perhaps we just defer the adoption of the minutes. Depending on the discussion, it just sounds like there may be some frank discussions needed. So within the closed session, I think both items 20 and the one Councillor McNeil referenced would cover that discussion. Perhaps we defer the adoptions of the minutes, but we add that to closed session and then just defer when we adopt them until after closed session.
Councillor Dean?
Through the chair to excuse me, to Councillor Saint Martin. Clearly you've identified some errors, but there's nothing in front of me to look at. Do you have copies of this for us to see?
I can share it with you at the time, yes.
Okay.
Okay, we'll defer, just to keep this here moving. Again, we're gonna defer the adoption of the minutes to discussion in closed session when we get to that. Okay, so with that, if I can get a motion then to adopt the agenda as amended, Councillor Dean?
So move that council adopts the agenda as amended.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, that's moved. So we're skipping 4.1 currently.
Do we need to make a motion to defer the adoption?
I think we can, our motion with
Just to put it at the end.
doing the agenda, moving it to the end, I think.
Okay, all right.
So 7.1 bylaw 82.0112 AI utilization.
Really quick. This item here is an initial draft of the potential AI policy for us. Not only was it mentioned by several councillors about the potential need with AI utilization, it is something we had identified administratively. Our concern, what we saw when we were looking at other models currently that available, were that some of them were overly restrictive. And with the development of AI, it can change pretty rapidly between one week to the other. And my concern was developing a policy that limited us too much without the potential to utilize new tools that came out was problematic and a concern. We've kind of been operating with our AI use, kind of with this policy, with it not written. Staff have been directed to let us know if we're using it. We try and limit it to business or AI or enterprise licenses where possible. And there's limits to what can and cannot be put in it. It hasn't been codified yet. I do know that the AI use, not only staff-wise, but council-wise, it varies. And that's fine, and there's no intent to change that. We found from an efficiency point of view, it does make some things easier to get a first draft, but the expectation is our staff are still working through it, and it's their data, and they're accountable for the results. We're of the opinion, after doing a review of several policies, the Alberta Association of Rural Administrators has a working group where CAOs and directors, we bounce ideas and best practices off of each other and see what we're all doing. There we were able to obtain AI policies from Wheeling County, Red Deer, Lethbridge, County of Newell, Westlock County. Westlock County's, we noted from the correspondence, was also done through a legal review. And so we looked at their policies and we saw some strengths in there, but we saw some other areas where if we wanted to try something new, I didn't feel that those policies properly covered that. And so our goal with this policy is it's flexible. It also would be the only one that speaks to some level of council use. Council use is definitely different than administrative use. I have full control over what staff do and the responsibilities there, but I don't manage up and I don't know how council's using it. I'm sure it's responsible and the same criteria we're putting on staff, but we really haven't had that frank discussion, and my hope is we can have that, and if this policy needs to change, we can do that. We are also trying to start using AI when it comes to our asset management and our GIS, because there's workflows and automation that we can do. And those are things that are technically AI, but none of the other policies that we found actually addressed. So it's, hey, we're using these tools, but we're not calling it what it is. And so our hope is this policy gives us some direction on it, and it also, my hope is clarifies some of the record keeping. Because we do have records requirements on what is and is not kept, and AI is a new field that way of are chats that you have with certain learning language models, are those working notes? Or are they county records? Where are those records stored, that sort of thing. So those are all items that the more and more we lean into it, we need to flush out. Ultimately, I think this is a good first step, and there was some comments from council where perhaps this should go to GAP. It absolutely merits a thorough discussion, and it could go to further GMPs as well. Simply with the limited numbers of items on the agenda, I thought it would be appropriate to continue that discussion because we are finding more and more that more staff want to use it. Within our budgets this year, we do have AI allocations to try new projects, to try new things, to see if they work or if they don't. But I'm happy to take feedback, positive, negative, and make this truly a Woodlands County policy based on what council think is necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Discussion from council? Councillor Dean.
I'm looking across the table at Patricia, expecting her to have some comments. From my perspective, you know, you use the word flexibility a number of times, and that's organizations are just starting to actively use this technology, and I think we need to be flexible for sure. If I recall, Councillor McNeil did ask our Premier about the possibility of the province rolling out some sort of training or standards, and the response was that they were gonna do it internally first, and then hopefully they'd have something. So, you know, that's another template that we can potentially use to measure this against, but we definitely need a policy on AI.
And I believe that we'd be naive in thinking staff currently aren't using AI, whether it's drafting speeches or you know, taking minutes or long, I guess, transcripts and kind of just getting a synopsis on it. I do believe this is something we need to do, whether, I don't feel that we need to wait for the province. I think, you know, if they're gonna do something, it typically what happens provincially, and the municipalities are usually mandated on our end to do a lot of our own policies and procedures around that. So I would be definitely in favor of us having a Woodlands County drafted one. If their direction from the province changes later, we can always amend or you know, bring it into whatever realm the province is looking for, but I don't believe that we should wait for the province. Councillor Whitten?
I just feel like through the Reeve 2 Council that AI is way smarter than I am, like with anything, so I mean, you put anything towards AI and it could go absolutely anywhere. Like, I mean, I don't have near enough training to even understand it fully. Like, so, I mean, if there was something where we could get training, like Councillor Dean had said, you know, so that we could use it properly, that would be a benefit to all of us, so that we would know exactly what we're allowed and not allowed to do, because, I mean, it could go awry in a really big hurry, I feel.
Mr. Ferris?
Just for some context, in a way that it was quite useful, that was a new form the organization used was over the Christmas break. We were getting some complaints about the snow. I will say it was minimal, and most of the comments we had were positive, but people wanted to know when their lines would be, or when the roads would be cleared, that sort of thing, and if we were still doing driveways, that sort of thing. One of the social media posts with the pictures of the two loaders with those bullets, that was entirely AI driven. It was over the over the Christmas break. We asked AI to develop that little graphic with the timelines, and Natasha posted it during Christmas holidays, just from an efficiency point of view, rather than having someone develop it. That was a new form of AI that we've utilized within the last month and a half. So we are trying to make it easier, but there's definitely value to have hands-on of our staff on everything that goes out. But in a pinch too, it also helps mitigate that, and that was a really good new realm that we're exploring as well.
Councillor Kuchen and Councillor Dean.
Yeah, through the Reeve Two Council, I'm probably the least qualified to comment on any of this stuff because I'm not really into a lot of the tech stuff. I've dabbled in it, but one of the things I did notice when I went through all of the stuff that we got from Matthew and administration is that there's a defined difference between the use of the way that we as council are viewed and the way that administration is viewed. And I think that a responsible policy would also make sure that we as councillors, first of all, understand the training, and the second one is understand the implications that happen if we don't use some of this stuff properly. That was what I got out of this, and so this is going to be not a very simple policy to draft. It's going to take a lot of discussion, and it's going to probably take a lot of education for people like myself who don't really understand how some of this stuff can go south.
Further discussion?
Alan had.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Dean first then.
Yeah, no problem. Through the chair to council and administration, kind of what I'm hearing is, we got a draft in front of us and maybe none of us really fully understand the policy and how it relates to the various components and where AI can go. The suggestion was made to defer it to a GMP, and is that what you're looking for coming out of this, is a motion to defer this?
What we have here, I think administration is looking for some more feedback to kind of revise and bring back. If we don't have anything further, then I guess feedback wise, if this is what's here, we can always adopt the policy and see where it goes as well. But Councillor McNeil?
Not to interrupt Councillor Dean, so I do have some feedback that I'd like to provide in advance. So
Yeah.
do you still have a point, or sorry?
Well, yeah, I just wasn't sure whether we wanted to thoroughly vet this right now or we wanted to defer it to GMP.
And my thing is, if the conversation stalls out and we don't really have much, there was no point in bringing it back to a GMP, but
Okay, no,
Councillor McNeil?
Thank you. Through the Reeve Two Council and Administration, I definitely have a number of things to say, and I really appreciate the comments from council that they've provided already. I wanted to give council the opportunity to speak on it in advance of what I had to say, essentially because I probably am the one here with the most experience using AI and having been an educator in the space for the last year. So in building policy and so on for private business organizations, et cetera. I agree, training is incredibly important and AI use is also incredibly important. So in going through this, one of the things that I've used as to give an example of, we have what we can do manually, and exactly like Councillor Whitten had mentioned, it's a great tool to level the playing field when it comes to whether you're an expert in your field, that you've been doing something for 30 years, there's always going to be a gap in your knowledge, or whether you're somebody who's brand new to a field, and AI is the ultimate, leveler that way. So to do an example, I took this RFD and I did a manual analysis of the RFD as I would, not the policy, the RFD, as I would if I was reviewing a policy and so on, and having been reviewing policies in the industrial sector for 25 years. So when I went through the manual analysis, And then I did an in-depth AI analysis. And the AI analysis actually caught 75% more errors than my personal analysis. So that's like one example of just how much more effective it can be. Also, the importance of that is that when we have administration that has access, ability, and training to use these tools, then they can provide us with information that goes beyond what each individual knows, you know, so that's better for us as making decisions. When we go to look up something or to analyze any data as well, then when we have the ability to use these AI tools, it makes us all be able to work better and serve our community to a higher level. It increases our competitive advantage and so on. So that being said, I think it's incredibly important, and there is a really big concern. Like I said, I did an in-depth analysis that I'll be happy to share with council coming out of this and administration. There are dozens of errors in this RFD. And the issue is with it, and I have the backup to council and administration to provide that. It gets into statutory and legal errors. I had identified 16 in my manual review, statutory legal errors and incorrect references and overreach outside of designated authority. So the AI in the 4-page RFD identified over 75 of those same issues. You know, so this is something that in highlighting it, I think that we need to make sure that exactly like Councillor Culkin had mentioned, it's a very complex subject. It's something to note that federally, provincially, elected officials are not included and covered under the AI policies. For administration to create a policy that polices council is outside of jurisdiction. And it's something that currently, as this policy is written, what it actually does, it gives a grade 5 student that's doing a project on government more ability to analyze public documents with their smartphone than it does a counselor if you pass it in its current state. So that's my concern. And based on that part of it, I can get into further details if anybody would like, but I would be prepared to make a motion that council direct administration to amend the AI utilization policy by removing reference to council and refer the amended policy to a GMP meeting for review.
And just, again, speaking to the motion, the part that they discuss in here in regards to council, I'm just gonna read this, says that it's our responsibility to establish governance directions for the responsible use of AI, which again isn't governing us. It's saying that using AI tools in a manner that we'll use it that are statutory obligation under the MGA, making sure that, you know, we're working. So I don't understand where.
Okay, I
What
can-
we'll say, like the legal, cause everything in here is saying that we're gonna work under the MGA and we're gonna make sure that we're the ones that are approving and responsible for the policy.
Okay,
So with that, there is a motion on the floor here, Mr. Ferris.
If I can, through the chair, I fully acknowledge the problems with the section relating to council. And to be clear, that is not administration dictating to council. The intent of that section is council holds itself accountable. And they can do that also by policy. The concern that I have isn't that council's using AI and other council is putting in agenda items or documents into AI. It's those discussions on the training realm and what is and what isn't okay haven't happened. So as administration, I still have to try and safeguard the organization from that aspect. And so I know with And I will say I am not the strongest in some of the AI tools when it comes to bots and that sort of thing. But in my experience, some bots that have been, you can set up bots to answer emails and that sort of thing on certain themes. My concern isn't necessarily a bot, it's the concern of where does that record go? Where does that person's confidential information go? So if a ratepayer was to email staff here, I wouldn't feel comfortable with a bot taking that person's email address, their phone number. Those type of things may be going to council as well. And the hope of that section, and I fully acknowledge that you might want that removed, Councillor McNeil, and it was more as an intent to have that discussion because we haven't put guardrails that way for council or had that discussion or training. I'm not sure how to bring it up other than through an AI utilization discussion. And maybe it's a discussion in a whole other policy, maybe with the removal of code of conducts with councils in the province, that could have been something in there. But it is a touch point that I wanted to make sure, and there is no intent to restrict council. I think ultimately what you said is 100% right. AI does level things in expertise. It also allows us to improve where we're at, and I don't want that to stop. The comment, and it is a further discussion just on how council wants to use it. Is there a benefit when it comes to something like ChatGPT? Yes, there's a free version, there's a pay version, there's a business version, there's an enterprise version. Depending on which one of those you have, the data is or is not used to improve the ChatGPT program. It can be entirely restricted so no one can view it. If we had licensing that way and council wanted those licenses as well, no problem, but at least then we know that the data that we're behind will remain confidential, will not be released. And those are the type of concerns that I'm not sure how to address, but I really hope that discussion, whether it is to remove it from the policy or to have some other discussions we can have, and that was the intent for it being in there.
Right, first I got Councillor St. Martin speaking to the motion.
Mr. Reeve, I'd like to speak in favor of the motion. This is kind of why I wanted this the question to be asked at maybe one of the law seminars. And the reason I wanted this on governance and priorities rather than the council meeting. But I'm speaking in support of the motion.
Councillor McNeil speaking to the motion.
Just to kind of, I guess, answer your question and to as well back through to the CAO. For example, on page 22, when it talks about explicitly addressed to manage risk while allowing AI use for understanding and productivity for council, regardless of the stated intent. So the letter of the policy, when you read the policy is limiting council. It is limiting council beyond the use of what any public member can use. You know, so that's currently what's stated. Now, I mean, we can state our intent however we see fit, but ultimately it's the written letters in the policy and the wording in the policy that carries through.
Speaking to the motion, I'm gonna call the question.
Yeah, I'm speaking to the motion. First of all, I think with the right to use something, there is that certain level of responsibility. And that is what really concerns me here, is that I appreciate that administration has dove into this to bring out all of those questions and make sure that, you know, we come up with something that's comprehensive. And I truly believe that if I were to use some of this AI technology, I would definitely breach that responsibility thing from lack of training and all of that stuff. So I think there's a certain level of conversation that needs to happen down the road at a GNP where we define that difference and figure out exactly how we're going to approach this, because as CAO Ferris has said, we need to make this something that belongs to Woodlands, that we all can I guess, share in the successes of it and also make sure that we all, if there is a failure, that we all are responsible as well. So
With that, I'm gonna call the question to move this with feedback to I guess for further council consideration with the removal of items or concerning to council. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. 8.1 asset management progress update, new AM system.
Thank you very much, ladies and members of council. We're going to switch gears now here to asset management. And this segment will be presented by Ms. Kara Kennedy here. Kara needs no introduction. I remember initially when we started this during council orientation, Kara did present this but at a very high level. So today I think she wants to dive deeper and deeper into what we're doing with asset management. And the only thing I would like to mention here is that Kara plays a major role in strengthening our long-term infrastructure planning. And we're going to go through some of these things, life cycle planning and condition assessments. So without wasting time, probably I'll just pass it over to Kara to walk us through.
Good morning, Your Worship, members of council. I'm happy and excited to be here to show you guys what we've been doing with the asset management journey, where we are with the new software, some of the processes and procedures, practices that we've been working on and developing. So I'm just going to skip over the RFD and start with the presentation. Slide here. Which better be then.
Maybe scroll down.
Oh, it should be attached right to it.
Scroll down. It should just be the next page on the one there. It's 130 pages.
There we go.
Is that shared for Councillor St. Martin?
Ready?
Yeah, okay.
That she can see
She
it.
can see it. Okay. And are you gonna click me or you want
Just let me know.
Okay, I'll give you like the thumbs up. Okay, so we can skip to the next slide. Okay, perfect. So asset management, doing the right things at the right time, and taking that information and being able to make good decisions. And I guess when I say like good decisions, that's meaning decisions that council is comfortable with and confident in. So you guys play an active role in setting the direction for our level of service and the resources that are allocated through the budget process. And then it's administration's, I guess, task to be providing you guys with meaningful data and information and analysis so that you can make those data informed decisions. Right now we have just almost 17,000 assets in our system, all the way down from fittings to our roads. We're gonna continue to be building on that because asset management is so data driven. That's definitely where the initial focus has been, on gathering all the core information, all of our assets in there. While we're not necessarily 100% complete on all the asset classes, we definitely have the foundational work established so that we can make strong progress moving forward and improvements. I think the asset management practices and finish completing our work, moving into 2026, we're gonna have a lot more information that's gonna come to you guys, and it'll start coming faster once we get the January, February implementation and finalization of the integration done. So the software that we purchased was citywide, PSD citywide, and these are the modules that we have with them. So we have our assets, maintenance, GIS, and the decision support. So we've been actively using assets management or maintenance and GIS. The decision support, once we get everything up and rolling and start getting some historical data in there, we'll be able to use that module more. And permitting, I just have a question mark there. we're hoping that our planning development team will be coming over in the future so that everything is still all in one. We see a lot of efficiencies there. So I'm gonna start with the asset management, the asset module. So in here, this is where we keep all of our assets. All of the assets are in the registry. I'm just showing here an example of the sanitary storm sewer. So we have 81 sanitary manholes reported in our database, and this shows us the location and service date, gives us other details on the asset. We have a projected condition and last condition assessment value. So that's new for us in this program. The old program, we were only able to have one. So now we have two where the assessed is what was actually assessed in the field through a condition assessment process. And the projected condition is just based on how long we think it's gonna last and its age. So it's nice to have both options in there for us. So the last condition assessment values came from our CCTV condition assessment inspections in 2024. And then on there's a globe, you guys can kind of see a globe over on the left column. So if you were to click on that, it takes you right to where it is spatially, so everything is linked. And then we're gonna focus on manhole number 27. So on here you can see there's a spot where you can see out where it is on the map. We're allowed to have images so people can see where it is. All the attributes are in here. We can attach any files. This is where it holds all of our condition assessments. There you go, that one. And then over on the left, I just highlighted a few boxes, and those are some of the things I'm just gonna show you in a little more detail. Go down to the next slide. So here we're able to show all of our attributes, and the attributes are all the information about the asset itself, so all the details, size, length, diameter, type, everything that's in there. And we can add as many attributes as we want, all on our own, so that's an improvement from the previous system that we had. Then you can map on them, filter them, pull all the data out. You can select what you want and export it, so it's very easy to use that way. There's a little bit of data cleanup that we still have to do when we brought stuff over from Catalyst. They have some extra fields and we weren't comfortable deleting them until we get the mobile app working and working with our GIS team. So we'll be working on cleaning those up. Something here, culverts for example. Right now we have all of our culverts in the system. They're just called culverts. But we want to be able to break those out through using attributes as these are centerline culverts and these are approach culverts, and which culverts are on a fish-bearing stream. So that's some of the next steps. We can add those attributes in there, and then that's something that we're able to filter on. And then when you guys are trying to make decisions and we have limited budget, well, maybe the ones that are on a fish-bearing stream should be addressed before a different one. So it just gives us a little more opportunity to, dive into where the risks might be. And on the bottom of that slide is just showing how we can attach various files. So we can attach all the previous condition assessments that we've done, project files, contracts, all of our as-built drawings, basically whatever we want. So there was limitations before, but now we can add those in. I think that'll be really handy for our operators to be able to click on it and they can access that from the field. So that'll be handy for them. Next slide. And this also connects over to our projects and work orders. So I'm just gonna show an example here, sticking with the manholes. This past summer, Rob and his environmental services team, they relined 4 culverts. So this project here, we have a name for the project that's gonna sync over to our finance system. And then in here, there's 4 separate work orders because we did 4 manholes, we relined 4 of them. So it shows you on there quickly the total cost as well as the individual cost for each of the manholes. I'm gonna keep skipping one more. This here is just showing you guys an example of the condition assessment that was done in 2024. So over on the right there, we follow the NASCO pipeline certification assessment. So it's provincially, it's a standard that we're following, and then the circle that I have there on the bottom right is the structural one. So that's the the structural rating that we give attention to when we're taking that and converting it over into our 1 to 5 scale for how we're giving it an overall condition. So not to go into a whole bunch of details, but the first number on there, 5, is the worst deficiency that you can have, and the second number over is how many times we have it. So I can't see from here with these glasses, but I think it's 2 times that we've had, yeah, thank you, John. We've had the worst condition 2 times, and that's on this one. So then if we flip down to the next one here, this was some images that I pulled out of the condition assessment. It says there it should be May of 24 is when we did this. So you can see the image on the left is showing the bottom of the manhole where the sewer or sanitary line is coming in, and the bench at the bottom actually has a hole, like the piece of concrete's been pushed right out. And then you can see there the camera that's going down through all the rings. We don't have our own camera. Maybe one day we'll have some of our own system there, but right now that's contracted out to Camtrack. And to give you guys an idea on the cost, to do all of our manholes, there was 29 that are part of the gravity system for our sanitary, and it was $305 to camera each of them to give us this data. It was just under $9,000 to do all of them. And then the camera work in its entirety, we do that approximately every 2 years for Blue Ridge and the Fort, where they camera all the lines, they actually video them so the guys can go back and look at them and see where everything is. They clean them at the same time. That was just under $60,000. So just to give you an idea of what we're spending on that. So now we're taking this data that we're getting from these condition assessments and we're using them to put forward ideas into the budget for you guys to approve to get work done. Both in terms of what we need to replace and also what additional data do we need so that we can make sure that we're maintaining our levels of service. We're trying to get out of that kind of reactive phase and more into future planning. So in 2023, when we sat down with our infrastructure team and we were reviewing the previous condition assessments, we're like, hey, we haven't done the manholes, and I don't think we've actually ever done the manholes. We just always focus on the lines. So then in the 24 budget, they put money in 24 to do the camera work. So then we get the results of the camera work, and then in 25, Rob put money into the budget to reline 4 of the manholes. So that's kind of how the process has been working. So we are using the condition data and the asset management data to help with our planning. Next slide, please. And this here again is manhole 27, and this guy is showing some of the work that was done. It's a Zebron product that they put down the manhole. So on the left they have it partially done, and then on the right it's done. It's looking pretty lovely and white. I don't think it's going to stay that way, but there we have it. So yeah, and so I think Rob is planning on doing this year in the 26 budget, put some money in potentially for a couple more linings of the manholes. And as well, our water treatment plants are aging. And so he's got some money in there to do some third-party investigations onto the 2 main water treatment plants that we have. So when I reached out to the company Groundworks that did this work for us, they gave us a 5-year warranty on the manholes that they did. And they also said that this is going to give us 50 years of additional life is what they've seen. So we've taken a manhole now that wasn't doing very well, could have had some environmental leaks like infiltration coming in as well as stuff escaping, which we don't want. And this manhole was done for just over $10,000, and it's giving us an extra 50 years of life. So there's no way you could replace one individual manhole for $10,000 on the main street. This one was right in front of the church in Fort Assiniboine. So, and the other manholes were only between $7,000 and $8,000 to do the relining. So that's giving us an extra 50 years. So that's a bit of a good news story. And then we could, did you want to add your calendar? Just continue, okay. Okay, and then next slide, this one I'm just trying to show you guys a little bit of the mapping. So the GIS viewer is within the citywide module, easy access for everyone to use on our field crews. And so in here, it just shows the condition of the manhole. So you can see most of them are in the good, the blue ones are good, and very poor for the red ones. There are some limitations with this, the GIS viewer, it's not as powerful as the other tool that I'll show you afterwards, but if you could do the next slide for me. And then the guys are able to print 11 by 17 maps out of here to use to give to contractors or whatever they have to do. And it's kind of nice, it has a little feature in the bottom corner to show you kind of where you're at. Okay, next slide. Thank you, okay. State of infrastructure report, so this is where we want to get is going through each of the asset classes to be able to give you guys a look at the sanitary system as a whole. So there's a few things we need to get done first that we're actively working on. The asset profiles, we need to have those set up in citywide. And then we want to go over the replacement costs, expected useful life with the new TCA policy that's coming into effect to make sure they're all lined up. The replacement costs that are currently in there now are ones that we would have just pulled from our Catalyst data, which is 2022. So there's some updating and just want to double check that we're on track with those right numbers. And then on the bottom, you can see those are just two figures that came from the asset management plan in 22, showing how many assets we have and then the replacement cost that would be. So expect to see some of those coming forward with our asset classes. We want to be bringing them to you probably one asset class at a time or a group of them. And we're planning this year to be doing a refresh on our asset management plan. So then you'll have updated numbers and whatnot for the 2027 budget that I think you will have. Yeah. Next slide. So the work that Rob did and all of our other departments when they're doing new assets or buying new equipment, we have to get that into the new system. So we pulled everything over that was there. Now we're going to be working at getting all of our 25 stuff in the system. And there's a lot of data and there's a lot of talk to get it from the field in. So this is an asset registry update form. So this one is showing just the equipment and fleet side. But we'll eventually have these type of forms for all of our asset classes to make sure that we're getting the right information from the field and that it's going in. And this will help reset all the conditions because Rob's conditions on those manholes are poor right now. Now they're gonna go back up to good or very good. And the replacement forecast, because it doesn't need to be done in 20 years now, it's an additional 50. So we have those ones coming. It might just look like one little sheet, but this was a major collaborative effort. Ambrose had a sheet on paper that was going around and an email, so we worked with Ambrose, we worked with Carla, she's the asset management coordinator. Natasha works over on the work orders and stuff for those guys. Sat down, got it all together, because this sheet then goes to our finance team to make sure that, they're getting, infrastructure, I guess, puts the license plates on it, and we need to make sure that it's insured. So we have this form now that is circling around, and we have a process set up for that that's actively working and created, the workflows for that. Okay, next slide. I just wanted to talk a little bit now about the QGIS. We now have in-house GIS position, that's Jody that we hired this past July. Great addition to the team. So this is where we would have more of our fancier maps that we can make in here. So she's busy working on templates and getting all the symbology to match. And this is where we would be able to create all of our large wall maps and then various atlases that we can send out to people. Next slide. So there's definitely both of our mapping systems, they talk between each other, it's the same data. We're working on getting more API connections between it to streamline it a little bit more even. But the GIS viewer itself really is being used by, our field staff. They can go out in the field, they have access to that on their handheld devices, and they can drop pins, they can create a work order, a service request right there. So that's a nice addition for them. Symbology is a little bit limited, same with printing of the map, so that's why we have the QGIS. That's where I guess like the big brains of the GIS stuff comes from. We're able to clip things, export things. Jody's been working Greater Beat Map with Jeff beforehand, so she created our own boundary in there so we can create data, and then she'll be working with Tracy and CAO Ferris on the new electoral boundaries in Q1 this year as well. So that's where we're doing that. So we have two tools that are both very useful. Eventually moving forward, we'll end up with more people being trained on the QGIS. Next slide. The data dictionary, the data about all the data. This is where it provides clarity on the data. There'll be lots of benefits realized here with just increased efficiencies. So this, Jody has taken several spreadsheets together, and there's like 6,000 lines in here, but it's all the data that we have, just going through, cleaning it up, and creating something where people will know this is the master data, who updates it, when is it updated, the process is linked to that, who's responsible for it, what am I looking at, what can be shared, what can't be shared, all that's in there. So there is a draft already completed, and we're just fine tuning that as well. And I guess in saying that too, in the fall, well, early fall, maybe even August, I can't remember, Tracy had requested a new electoral maps for the election that was coming. And Jody was just new, so we sent that back to Catalyst to get them to do that for us. That was 27 general service hours for them to do that work, and when it came back, the electoral boundary that we had was wrong. It wasn't the current one. So now we're gonna be doing that in-house. It's gonna be saved where we know where that electoral boundary is, it's there, we know which one to use. So, and in fairness to Catalyst, they have staff turnover too. So if you're not dealing with electoral boundaries except every 4 years, where did that file go, right? So, so I think there's gonna be a lot of benefit there and some cost savings. We have a GIS procedure in-house so people know what they're doing, and also a GIS request form for our internal users to be requesting data. So we develop both of those workflows as well. Next slide. Maintenance manager. This is a big module, and I would say that majority of our time has been spent on this module, getting it up and running since June. So this holds all of our work order service requests. Life cycle events are scheduled here, inspections processes, our inventory vendors, everything is in here. On the AM side, we kind of already had a system with Catalyst and we just migrated data over. Of course, there's bumps in that and you have to clean stuff and you know, make sure it matches up, a lot of checking, but maintenance manager, we've been building and creating. We didn't have a digital work order system before, and I would say we didn't really have a work order system. Ambrose had a similar one, or was running with paper over on the shop side. So we've met with all of the groups to figure out, you know, what activities do you have, what do you need a work order to be assigned to, and through all those collaborative meetings, we learned a lot as well. So in here we're just showing, I think it's like over 800 work orders, and this was from in December. We have 106 processes, checklists that are loaded into the system that people can use. And then also with the vendor listing that we have in there now, and we'll be managing some of our inventory in Citywide as well. So we'll have it in the inventory, and then when people are taking it out, they take it out, we assign it to the work order, wherever it went to, and then that information is gonna flow back into our Sylogist finance system as well. And next slide. So we spent a lot of time training staff, and we trained the managers first to go so they would know how to make the work orders. We've trained the workers on so they can action the work orders with doing their check-ins and recording everything. We've had training on service requests and the mobile app. There's lots of pieces of the software, but they're all connected, which is really nice. So you can click on an asset and you can see all the work orders. You can click on a work order and you can go over and see what asset it was done on. So it flows back and forth. As far as where we are with use in the live database, Ambrose and Dawn are both using the live database. They were the first ones that we moved over. And as well, Kevin and Jen up in the fort, and Corbin and Natasha here on the Whitecourt side. So all of our roads are, all the snow removal, snowfall flags, all that stuff is now being run out of there, or in the live database. We've trained the airport and rec on some of it, so we're just waiting to go with them. We did the training with the airport crew right before, you know, Christmas break and all the snow came. So then you kind of take a couple steps back, and it's if you train them and people aren't able to use it right away, then they forget some of it. So yeah, we've been doing a couple training sessions with each for sure. Water and sewer and the buildings will be next. I'm very lucky that we have an amazing team in my own department that I work with and other champions throughout the organization. So Jen over in the Fort and Don have been game working on these as well. Ambrose is probably one of our biggest champions. He's been using it actively and helping promote it. I know Rec is very excited to start using it. And I think for our building side, they're gonna find lots of benefits as well. So lots of buy-in, which makes everything a lot easier for sure. Next slide. This is just showing some of the work order types. So we met with all the departments, as I had mentioned, to establish, kind of the activities that they were doing. And previously, all of our stuff was just going into the program. The first column on the left, just equipment maintenance and fleet maintenance. So now we have some categories, there's the classifications that we have set up. So we're tracking things that are preventative maintenance versus corrective maintenance. Preventative maintenance, we're expecting to do services and oil changes and grease and whatnot. But corrective maintenance, why is the electrical system gone down on this one piece of equipment 3 times, right? So we're gonna be able to pull those details in. Ambrose has a lot of other ones on there where when a work order comes in, and if it's related to an engine or it's related to the transmission, he's putting it there. So it'll all roll up into one, but he's able to, if we wanna print some individual reports or see things, it kind of sticks out a little more clear. So we should be able to do some different analysis for sure on that one, which will help with, making decisions on the renewal of our assets and when those vehicles and stuff should be, when they're a problem. The next slide, please. We are able here to create maintenance schedules. So Ambrose, the lead mechanic, he has gone in there and he's put in all of his CVIP inspections. Those are his annual inspections that he has to do. So he set up notifications where he can get notified the week before. Then he can take that notification, he just flips it over to a work order and assigns it to one of his guys. And all the checklists that he wants done are on there. So it's easy for them to fill out and they can't close it until they've filled it out. It's really nice for the guys to have it right there. Those guys aren't really using iPads, but they each have their own kind of like little workstation and they're going there and putting them in there. So it's automated and then we're not forgetting things, which is nice. Okay, next slide. This one's just showing some of the checklists that we have. So I mentioned we had about 106 processes and inspections that are loaded into the system. This is showing a pickup service checklist. He's got 29 tasks on it, so we've loaded all the tasks up for the guys to do. And it's easy for them to click and say it's complete or put something in there where it fails or it needs attention. And then from that inspection, you can create a work order as like a next step. So it's all linked together. Dawn over in the Fort's using this for her weed inspections and also her pre-rental equipment checklist. I know Rec's gonna be using it for some of their monthly inspections. Building maintenance will be able to use it as well for furnace scheduling and inspections. Next slide. And through some of the discussions that we've had too, we've been able to work with some of our departments that have had like requests, like we haven't done this before, but can the system do it? So Kevin and Corbin both asked for us to create a culvert maintenance checklist for them so that when they send the crews out and they're fresh there, they're doing the work, they can they can tick off exactly what they did. It comes in, there's a permanent record of it. If Corbin or Kevin ever want to go back and look at it, they can look at it. So we just want the tool, software to be a tool that everyone can use. So every chance we get where somebody's asking for us to add something in, we're trying to make sure that that works. Okay, and the next slide is showing some of the service requests. Right now we're using it mostly internally. So the staff can create service requests. This would be where some of the guys have started doing service requests to send their piece of equipment over to Ambrose so he can get a list of when it is and they can do it anytime during the day if something comes up, and then it's easy for Ambrose to take that service request. They all go directly to him and he can flip in the work order. Also the guys, if they're in the field and they're running along and they see something, they can send in a service request to Kevin or Corbin or Dasha and Jen and they can flip it over for them as well. So it's easy to use and you're not forgetting things and we're waiting till you come back at the end of the day to add something in. Next slide. So we took some time when we were putting in the different types of service requests. So the ones down there in a red box are more to do with the water complaints that might come in where their water maybe it comes in, it's got odor, it's got color. I know we've had some of those issues in Blue Ridge. So this way, when a service request comes in, it can get tagged under that category, and then that's something that we can print out in the summary, and we can know how many, we can kind of monitor our key performance indicators and know how many complaints we're getting on some of these items. We also worked with Michaela and Rob Michaela does our utilities. And so lots of phone calls she gets in for people, can you disconnect, do the seasonal disconnect, I gotta move in or move out on a property for the water meters. So now she can flip a service request over to Rob so he knows which house he has to go to and go and do. Jody's getting all of our water meters loaded into the system, so we'll be able to tag it right on there. And then when Rob's crew goes out there to do the meter read, we've made it right on the work order request, and they have to put in the usage, the meter read. And so then that information goes back to Michaela and it's all in there, so it's all connected. So that's another way to connect the departments together. Next slide here. So we're hoping to go live with the citywide service requests at the end of the month. So the 2025 ones are all in the Catalyst, and we'll be moving the ones that have snuck through into the new system over, so that when you guys get your report, we have all of 2026 service requests coming out of one system. And yeah, so we're hoping to have that done by the end of the month. Our communications, Natasha there has got a test up on the website for us, and someone actually used the test and it worked, so it is working. We just have to do some more training internally with staff. And then after that is done, we're hoping at the end of this month, and then by the end of the first quarter, we're also gonna have the public mapping portal up and running, which I think you guys will like. People can go in and we can make different tabs, so there can be an infrastructure tab with infrastructure related projects on it, a general tab, maybe a rec one as well, like various departments could have their own, showing highlights from their particular area and highlighting projects that they might have coming up this year. Okay, next slide. Benefits of the new software for the asset management system. Lots of benefits. Yeah, my glasses. I'm in limbo. Do I really want progressives? I don't know. So all the data is in one location, which we kind of talked about. The easier it is for someone to use, the more they're going to use it. We're going to have consistent, accurate data, and this data is going to start being able to tell a story for you guys. When someone leaves, we're going to have all the data there, which is nice as well. We're able to track some of our KPIs through some of it too, depending on how we do the back end setup. We've tried to accomplish that. The efficiencies and the reporting as well. So the LGFF and the CCBF, both of those grant programs now require us to have an asset management plan, which we do have. And some of their recent changes also, they want to know the condition of the asset before, and then I have a report on what it's going to be afterwards, and they want to know how long that's going to last. So I'm assuming they're tracking that stuff as well. The Stats Canada report is a lengthy one. It's done every 2 years. I did it this July. Candace helped with that one, and that took over 2 days to complete for all the data. So they want everything. They want to know all your conditions, all your size of pipe. So I can't wait to do it in 2 years from now, because hopefully we can just hit print on a couple of things and send it in. So everything will be in there. We're gonna have data ready in there for various grants if we need any of that data, depending on what grants might pop up. I like being able to schedule some of the preventative maintenance on things, so we can make sure that it's happening. If you're getting reminders, then you don't necessarily forget, because everyone gets busy. We'll be able to plan some projects digitally. Again, just the operational efficiencies that we're gonna see with the easy to use apps. Generating these asset replacement forecasts, which I think is something you guys will enjoy the most, with working through, all the different asset classes, the peaks and the valleys, and trying to smooth those out. So one year we're not spending a ton of money on one asset and then another. So if we can make that smoother, it helps with budgeting. Tying asset management to dollars and how much some of this stuff is costing. So we did a little bit of an example there with the sanitary manholes. And then with some of the data, I'm going to be able to help John with the long-term service reserve impacts and the debenture and financing, getting more into that. And of course, the better mapping and digital displays that we're going to be able to accomplish as well with the increased analytical abilities with the program as well as the QGIS software. So the immediate next steps, we gotta finish with the work orders, finish training everyone and get them all moving over into the live database. Updating the roles and responsibilities for everybody. We've been going through that as we go, figuring out who's done what piece, since a lot of it is new for everybody. We have a lot of procedures and processes that we've started. Some of them are 50%, some of them are at 90%, and we just wanna be able to push those to completion once we've been able to go through all the groups and then get everything integrated. The next 2 months, I would say we're gonna be pretty busy with testing the integrations between the finance system and the asset management system, making sure that's working. And as I always say, asset management's a journey, so we're always gonna have a little bit of data cleanup here and there as we go. And then the future is gonna be updating those asset replacement forecasts with the state of infrastructure reports that you'll see this year. And then even past that, we wanna come up with a risk matrix for all of them. Titan integration, we have all the GPS units and all of our equipment, so we'd like to bring some of that information over as well and be better utilizing that information that we get. And we went to a PSD citywide conference in the fall, and they showed a lot with their route patrol capabilities, so we're not there yet with route patrol on our stuff, but there is, whether we use that route patrol or the Titan stuff, there's definitely some things there that we can work on. So yes, and as my boss always says, wonderful days are coming. So so I'm lucky to work with a really great team. John's got a lot on his shoulders, and he's kept things away from Lan and I, so we can be busy doing some of the integration and whatnot. And yeah, we have a really good team. I have great staff, and we've been working with all the departments and all the champions. So all of this has definitely been a big group effort. Takes everybody, that's for sure. So.
Thank you very much, Kara. I know you guys have been working this for a very long time. It's nice to see where we're getting here. Start with Councillor Kukin, and I got Councillor St. Martin.
Yeah, through the Reeve to administration and council, there's a couple of things that come up for me in this thing is that there's the legacy portion, which we have to be thankful to Dave, Bruce and John, who were on council when I started, and we're really pushing this whole asset management idea, and it wasn't getting a lot of traction, and they easily convinced the rest of us that it was really important. So those foundational pieces were put in place. And then the second part of the equation is that we had Kara and her team be actually passionate about this. And thank you so much for doing the work that you guys have done, because this is now reflecting in what our future is going to be. And I can share what the conversation was at the regional meeting at our Pembina regional meeting. They shared the way that the province is looking at some of the frontline costs and the way that they're going to have a look at municipalities. And part of it was that if we have a shared responsibility and we are doing our work in this asset management space, they're going to be much more open to accepting grant applications because they believe that anybody who has a sustainable funding model and has this kind of a strategy in place justifies the dollars that they would then direct into those municipalities. So it gives us a bit of an opportunity, better opportunity to get some of the things funded that we haven't been able to get funded now. And so all I have to say to you and your team is thank you very much for doing this, and any support that you need, we sure are probably going to be willing to debate that around the council table.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor St. Martin.
Mr. Reeve, through to administration. I basically want to echo what Councillor Kluken has said. This makes me very happy to see that this is being implemented. I've worked with a system similar to this and implemented it about 4 years ago. it absolutely will make our applications for provincial and federal funding that much stronger. I just wanted to point out that FCM, under the Municipal Green Fund, funds a lot of the software and programs and things of that nature. So if staff needs to look into that, that's an opportunity. And thank you to the staff for the work that has gone into this. It's great stuff. Thank you.
Councillor McNeil, and I'll go to Mr. Ferris.
Through the chair to administration as well, I completely echo Councillor Culkin and St. Martin. I've worked with some asset management programs in the past as well and understand how difficult it can be to get the buy-in, you know, for people to put the resources forward to make it happen. And then most importantly, to get the integration from the boots on the ground and the people putting the program in place. So fantastic job. And what my questions are is, I'm just curious what constraints or challenges that you've come across right now that you're dealing with, if any, so that maybe were unanticipated.
I don't know if there was any necessarily unanticipated, just it takes time to pull everything together for sure. We have lots of people that aren't super tech savvy, so giving them these devices and asking them to, you know, start logging everything on here. I think people are a little scared at the start, but then they're like, oh, like, you know, Lee, for example, one of our grader operators, they get the blue sign and it has a Range Road 114 on it. Well, we have a lot of Range Road 114s, right? So now he's gonna be able, I can see that on the map where that is now on here, and it's like, yeah, your snowfall flag is gonna show up on there. So it just takes time for us to be able to go and work with everyone and show them the capabilities. And we're still learning too. The system, I like that we're being able to grow into the system. We're not gonna outgrow it for a while, so that's good. I don't know what other limitations.
Thank you very much. Through the CEO to Councillor McNeil, I think one of the challenges that is out there is just the time constraints. And we are really working on that with the vendors as well. Because I know these things, as Reeve mentioned, started way back. It was supposed to go through in December, it didn't work through, and we extended it. So there's that time constraints, but we are working through with the vendors to make sure that this time they meet up with the deadline. And this is just internally working with the administration, working with the vendors to make sure that we get all that were expected.
Thank you.
Councillor McNeil.
Just and as a follow-up to that, what do you expect will be kind of a timeline before council is getting, you know, more, I guess, finalized information for when it comes to budget planning and stuff like that?
If I can, through to Councillor McNeil. So our plan is to phase it in because it is new. Our hope is for the 2027 budget, we're aiming that 50% of our recommendations will be through the system. The one thing that we're struggling internally is some of the historical data still needs to get in there, particularly when it comes to our fleet and that sort of thing. Knowing the actual maintenance cost in a digital system to see that cost benefit. So our goal this year, we're aiming at least, is at 50%, with the goal of 4 years from now, hopefully it will be 100% recommendation. So we'll continue to improve that progress, and I think as we build that data internally, then we should be within 3 to 4 years, 100% of our recommendations to council will be based on asset need. And then you have to factor in the dollars and cents of it is our hope. And if I could just expand on what Kara had mentioned on a touch point. One touch point that I've seen is because our GIS system was, for lack of a better word, it was contained within a third-party system. The control and the organization of that data was done by a contractor. It was done to be as efficient as possible to get us whatever map we're asking for. But to have a proper system so that we have work orders and workflows through with our GIS, she had to take that, I'll just make up a number, but let's say 10,000 different layers of squiggly lines that some represent one thing, some was a special project that was a one-time ask, but there's no label on it, so let's figure out what the significance of this squiggly line is. And so that is definitely an area that our team is, it's time consuming to make sure that the data is right, because now that it's ours, we have to manage it and make it efficient. That is one area where it was disappointing, but when you're dealing with a third party contractor, you're limited to it, and when service hours cost thousands of dollars, we want the deliverable as fast and as efficiently as possible, but when it's our data, we have to be much more methodical because there's multiple uses for it and we can use it through different points. And that is one area that I've seen from an asset management that it was a bit of a surprise, and luckily last council recognized that and supported getting us our GIS consultant or our team member as soon as possible, because a lot of this 6 months that she's been here, she's done a lot of excellent work just building that data to be usable for everyone.
Cool, thank you.
Anything else from council? Not seeing any. Councillor Dean?
I'd be prepared to move that council receive the asset management presentation for information.
Councillor, discussion to the motion? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All in favor? That's moved. Thank you very much for your time and your presentation. Keep up the great work. I'll start with council reports. We have Councillor St. Martin's here. Councillor St. Martin, anything else you'd like to add?
No, everything's in the report. Thank you.
Any questions, comments, Councillor St. Martin? Councillor Dean?
Pretty light, just January 13th, we had an ACDEV meeting that also served as an orientation meeting for the new members of Large, and it was very worthwhile. The new members of Large have some new ideas, which is great for that committee, and I look forward to the next couple of years with that committee.
Councillor, questions for Councillor Dean? Councillor Coogan?
Yeah, my schedule was really light as well. The one that I attended, the virtual meeting of the Pembina River District on 12th, and there were a couple of interesting things that came up there for me. At least we're still at $253 million in tax arrears. And it's quite interesting that there's really been no movement on the part of the AER to change any of the permitting and those things that are happening that are consistently being a problem for rural municipalities. And they create a lot of problems. So there's some things that I think they're advocating for that they're going to try to change, which I think you know, there's going to be some work needed to be done by us individually to move that forward. And the other one was the shared responsibility, which was a really good discussion and you know, really falls into the correct things that we're doing as a municipality. And then the other one that was really apparent for me was the emerging rural opportunities, especially in the nuclear space, where, you know, maybe one of the things that we're going to have a really serious look at is looking to really develop those regional collaborations with the municipalities around us, because one of the things that was very apparent is that the provincial government is working with 5 municipalities in the Peace River region, because they've chosen to work together to try to attract nuclear there as well. And that's one of the important things, is that we begin to have these conversations with Whitecourt, Yellowhead, Greenview, Lac St. Anne, all of those municipalities around us, so that the education for this doesn't just land in Woodlands, but that it's in the region. Because if you don't have regional support, these things will not go forward. Other than that, there was a bit of conversation about agritourism, and the interesting part about it, and I did a little bit of research on it. was the operator's liability in agritourism. And then I went through the Alberta Professional Outfitters Society to have a look at what the difference is between the liability insurances that they have compared to what an agritourism person would have, because that's still basically a tourism business function. And I'm not sure where the problem is, other than in the portion that would be transferring either bacteria or problem invasive things that would be there if people came into your agribusiness. So it's something that is going to be part of our, if we're going to promote agritourism, we're gonna have to keep up with that just to see how we can help that whole conversation along. And that's it.
Any questions for Councillor Coogan? Councillor Whitten?
The 8th of January, I virtually attended a BARC meeting and got updated on 2025 and the goals for 2026. And last night I attended Fort Assiniboine Ag Society meeting and just the goals for 2026.
Thank you, Councillor. Anything from Councillor Whitten? Councillor McNeil?
Hi, actually, I attended, so on January 7th, the Chamber of Commerce had their first of 2026 meetings, so for their member mixer, and they had some interesting information come out of it. They've really grown their membership, and there seems to be a lot of activity and business support and a lot of engagement at these meetings, so it was a full house for sure. And a lot of great energy going into the new year. One of the things as well that was mentioned is that the start to the new year in some of the sectors was actually busy already. And by January 7th, that's something we're not necessarily used to. Usually that first week to 2 weeks is a little bit slower. So that was a good indicator to hear of those. They've really focused on advocacy training and their advocacy as far as both regionally, provincially, and federally. So that's something that's strengthening the business community locally. And they're going to be hosting in May the Alberta Chambers of Commerce. So there'll be 150 delegates here for 3 days in the region, and they're gonna be exploring the region, doing some activities throughout the area, both within the county and within the town. And the planning for that is still underway. So there was also an update from the town, and we did a brief update. I did a brief update for Woodlands as well. So, and then just to note, their President's Gala, which is also the Community Business Awards, takes place on Saturday, January 24th. And I'm happy to say Gems Cafe, so from Fort Assiniboine, will once again be catering that event. So it's nice to see our county businesses also engaged in some of these events with the chamber. So I highly recommend anybody who wants to go. It's usually a really fun night, and ideally to get your tickets before this coming Friday if you can. So also the Community Lunchbox, which is another one of our great community organizations, so is hosting their gala and celebration night Saturday, February 28th. This is a really important fundraiser for that organization, and they, for anybody who isn't aware of what they do, just bear with me, I thought I had a quick note on it here, but essentially they provide lunches to our schools. They also create employment for some of our people in our community that have some employment challenges, and they're just they've been great contributors to our community, so I'd highly recommend supporting that organization if you can. And also January 12th, I attended the Pembina District meeting virtually, and I really echo what Councillor Culkin had mentioned, particularly of concern with the oil and gas tax arrears problem not going away. You know, it's something that we've been into this discussion for quite a number of years now, and to see that the problem is still occurring at almost, or potentially some were saying it's increasing, so in volume. So that's something that we really need to have on our radar and figure out, you know, maybe some different tactics, maybe some new council can come in with some new ideas on how to bring forward through our proper channels to, you know, deal with that issue. And then on January 13th, we, as Councillor Dean had mentioned, had our Economic Development Committee meeting. And I agree, our new members, you know, we focused on orientation. We had some great ideas brought forward, and I think it's gonna be a really great committee. So that was essentially all I had, so.
Hey, Councillor, any questions for Councillor McNeil, Councillor Dean?
Not so much a question, but just something that I wanted to add with respect to that ECDEV meeting and the focus on the orientation is that we, as a committee, we talked about the committee having an ability to have input into strategic planning. And so, you know, this council is going to be undergoing strategic planning fairly soon. And that was just a real good example of how some of these questions that were coming from the committee were, you know, the types of questions that a council and a strategic planning meeting would discuss. And, you know, so I look forward to the strat plan, and I would think that probably all the committees are gonna have some ideas that will filter back through.
Anything else, Councillor McNeil? Councillor Wright?
It was pretty quiet for me as well. On January 12th, I attended our Blue Ridge Community League meeting. Right now, we're desperately in need of some volunteers, so I did put a plea out on our social media. So we had a pretty good turnout for our last meeting. I think we had about 20 people attend. There seems to be some new interest in people running for our executive, so at this point, we are running with half the executive, and we were unsure if we'd actually be able to continue as a league. So we have an AGM happening on February 23rd at 7 o'clock at the Blue Ridge Hall, if anybody wanted to come and show their support. And other than that, I did go to the January 13th Whitecourt Community Services Committee meeting. I'm the alternate on the committee for Karen. She was unable to attend, so their agenda was very simple. I think the biggest thing they spoke about was increasing the transit ridership, so that's all I.
Anything for Councillor Wright? Myself, I had a bunch of meetings come up. Unfortunately, I've got other stuff going on that I haven't been able to make everything for. I did have a meeting with Mayor Hiltz yesterday though, just kind of informally talking about a lot of things in both municipalities and just seeing how we can get to where we're supporting each other instead of just trying to push things on each other. Like, I guess historically has been the motive here. So said that he has a council that's very, very willing and eager for change and for a positive relationship going forward. So it was a good meeting, and that's, other than that, that's the only thing I've been able to make here the last few weeks. If there's any questions? No? Seeing none, if I can get a motion to accept the council reports as information. Councillor Wright?
I'll make a motion that council receive the council reports for information.
Thank you, councillor. Call the question, all in favor? That's moved. I'll do the service tracker report and discussion. I'll take a quick break before we go into closed session.
Sorry, thank you, Chris. So this is before you. We did have some staff change over there in the late part of Q3, which resulted in us being delayed to get you the Q3 report for our service tracker. That said, for Q3, which is July through September, we had a total of 129 requests. It was about a 10% decrease from the year-over-year comparison. Most frequent requested category was for grading. If council would like, I can go through the reports, but I'm sure we've reviewed them thoroughly anyway. Q4, we got a significant number of requests, but interestingly, it was a decrease from the year before. which I have to make a plug for our Public Works Department with record snowfalls, and I'm told from our Public Works managers, in some places we had drifts over 10 feet high over the roads. The fact that we actually experienced a decrease in calls and complaints given the month of December speaks volume to our staff and our Public Works Department. And so the vast majority, as you can see, were increases in sanding and snow plowing services. But I will say that our team sacrificed a great deal with their family over the holidays to make sure everyone else's holidays went off without a hitch, and I wanna say thank you to them, and I'm sure council's appreciative. The fact that these items are here and those items are reviewed, after Kara's presentation related to asset management indicating we are transitioning some of our software, we haven't really had a discussion with council on how they would like to see the reports. So reports coming up within 2026 will be different because they are different for different software providers, so there's different restrictions. I don't know what council really likes about these generated reports, or there's things you would like us to remove. Is there a benefit to, rather than breaking it down by division, speak as one county in these reports? And so any feedback that you have on things that would be nice to see in these reports or things that aren't necessary would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Dean and Councillor McNeil.
Through the chair to administration to answer the question, from my perspective, I like the division breakdown. I think what it helps to identify for me is areas that we I don't wanna say we struggle, but they're problem areas, right? And it's just by the very nature of the topography or whatever, and to see it there is helpful. The other comment that I wanted to make is I'm wondering if our communications department could put out a social media campaign as to how to find that service request on the mobile app. You know, it's on the on your computer, on the PC, it's right at the bottom of the main page, you can see it. But you have to go through that little links, the popular links on the mobile. And if a person doesn't know what's there or doesn't know that that's an area to dive deeper into the website, you know, they're not gonna be able to find that. Cause I've had numerous conversations with residents who are better with their phone than I am, but they don't know where it is. And so I'm just thinking a quick how to find it would be helpful.
Councillor McNeil.
Thank you through the chair to admin. Also, yeah, I just wanted to kind of, I guess, echo what Councillor Dean had said. I really appreciate the divisional reporting as well for basically the same reasons. I did have a couple of questions in regards to the service trackers. Was one in particular, first out of curiosity, just about the percentage. It looks like pretty well half the time they're filled out by staff and the other half, so I wanted to kind of get a better understanding of what that is. And then also, I'm expecting it's an anomaly because most months are 5 or 6 days to average close requests. And then for October, it says the average to close 21 requests was 39 days. And all the other ones are 5 or 6, so I was curious about those two items.
In regards to the October one, I will have to get back to you. I'm sure it's an anomaly. The
It
average
just
would
looks
not be
strange.
39 days or none of us would be sitting in this room. So I'm thinking it's an error that way. The staff request, I think it's a combination of two things. If someone calls and asks us to, they have a concern or something like that, I don't think it's best practice to say, hey, go on the internet and
No, for
to submit. So some of those requests are phone calls where people have said, hey, let's do something.
Sure.
Some of it could just be our staff proactively saying, hey, this is wrong. The other thing, we were running into some issues facility-wise of our staff where there was an issue with the building, and more so like our third party facilities where they'd asked for something and it just either fell by the wayside or wasn't properly tracked. So we said, put in a service request, or we'll put one in for you for something that's a administrative issue, just to help for better tracking, because we did find, particularly in our facilities realm, some of those things were getting dropped. So a portion of those would be that as well. Or
Councilor McNeil,
I'm prepared to make a motion that we, council receive the 2025 service tracker reports and discussion for information.
thank you, Councilor. Discussion to the motion. And seeing any, I'll call the question, all in favor? And get into our closed session if I get it, and we had reference 20 for staffing employment. I'm assuming that'll follow for CA evaluation as well.
that would be as well.
And for our discussion on the minutes, what would we use for?
What's the conflict one? Bear with me.
Is this something you guys would like to go to?
Sorry, it's just loading.
I apologize, I should have asked that sooner before we got here.
No, it's not 16. Sure, let's go section 29.
And 29
Advice from
is,
officials.
pardon?
Advice from officials.
So I'll call the question, you go into closed session, all in favor? Okay, that's moved. I'll go into closed session here. I'll take a
You said
10-minute
you're
break.
taking a break? Yeah, okay.
You will, while we get